Hey guys, Mark here. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a paracord spinner, which is basically a fidgeting toy which restless people use in order to concentrate or just pass the time. Now I must admit that I'm not a particularly restless person myself, but the inner child in me does like to play with things like this. As far as the supplies go, you're going to need 2 pieces of paracord, each 2 feet long. You're also going to need a rollerblade bearing, you're going to need some scissors and a lighter, and finally a dab of glue just to hold everything in place. With that said, let's move on to the tutorial. The first thing we're going to prepare when making our spinner is the middle part, which is a rollerblade bearing, which I have opened on top and bottom. They usually come in a set of 4 or 8 and they look like this when you get one. So they have the top and bottom closed. You're going to need to open the top and bottom, and this can be a bit of a dangerous task. I highly recommend that you're very careful when doing this, and what I usually do is get a knife and I make a small dent on both sides. Once you have made 2 dents, you take more of a blunt object and use that in order to open the top and bottom. Inside, you're going to find some grease, which does prevent the bearings from spinning too fast, and you want to remove that grease. You can use things like gasoline, or even better, nail polish remover, such as acetone, in order to remove the grease. I used a brush and some acetone, and I got the grease out quite well. You can let it soak in acetone for a bit as well, that works quite well as well. Once you clear out the grease out of your bearing, it's going to get much faster. We're going to continue by making the other part of our spinner, which is the outside part, and I just use some snake knots here. You can add some metal beads or nuts at the side, which can speed up your spinner even more. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to use a couple of knots to make a nice looking spinner. I have a piece of paracord here, which is about 2 feet long. I have folded it in half, and we're now going to line up 3 snake knots. Pick up your right end and make a loop. Place your right end under the loop. Then pick up your left end and travel under your right end. Then take your left end and feed it through the loop on the left. Then pull on both of your ends and on this loop, and you're going to tighten up your first snake knot. Now we don't want this loop, and we're going to move our snake knot a bit further up. Then tighten up your knot. You don't want to tighten up your first knot too much, or it's going to slip out. Make sure that both of your ends are of equal length before you continue making your second and third knot. We continue exactly the same way. Take your right end, place it over the left end, then behind, creating a loop. Then with your left end, go under your right end then over the top and into the loop on the left side. Then tighten up your snake knot as close to the first one as possible. And let's make the third knot exactly the same way. Pick up your right end, place it over the left end, then go under the two cords, creating a loop. Pick up your left end and place it under the right end, then into the loop on the left side, going over the top. So we have lined up 3 snake knots onto this cord. We have another cord onto which we're going to do the exact same thing. So what we're going to get is 2 cords, each with 3 snake knots. I have made 2 sets of 3 snake knots onto my 2 pieces of paracord. I'm now going to weave them together. Take one of the pieces, place the other one horizontally, then with one end of your other piece, go under over, with the other end, go over under. With this we have created a nice spot for our bearing, and we're now going to make a snake knot here at the bottom. Start with your right cord, go over the left one, then under and back towards the right side. This creates a loop. Then pick up your left cord and go under your right one, then over the top and into the loop on the left. Tighten up the knot slightly. Then insert your bearing into the middle and tighten up the knot some more. Then we're going to make another knot onto the other side. Again, take your right cord and go over the left, then back to the bottom on the right, like this, creating a loop. Then with your left cord, go under the right one, then over the top and into the loop on the left. Again, tighten up. Now all we need to do is add a couple of more snake knots here and here. Then we're going to cut the ends and our spinner is more or less complete. Make sure that the parts of your spinner are at about a 90-degree angle, and we're going to pick up from tying off our snake knots. After adding the last snake knots, then cutting and melting the ends, our spinner is fairly secure. We can add a dab of glue just to make sure that everything stays put. With that said, guys, thank you for joining me in this tutorial and happy spinning!